Today my Texas vacation continues with a stop in Waco. Waco is a city of about 135,000 people and sits on the banks of the Brazos River. It is the seat of McLennan County and is home to Baylor University and the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame and Museum. As I was driving into Waco on Interstate 35, I passed a brown sign, and everybody knows brown signs are fun. So I decided to take a little detour to the Waco Mammoth National Monument. The Waco Mammoth National Monument is one of our newest national monuments, coming into the National Park Service family in 2015. After parking, we met our tour guide at a small visitor center, and she escorted us on a short walk down a paved path to the dig site, which is protected by a large climate control building. Here, inside the building, we can see the remains of at least 19 mammoths from a nursery herd that roamed this area some 67,000 years ago. This site was discovered in 1978 by two local residents who were searching for arrowheads along the banks of the river. The two men found a very large bone, and a few days later took it to scientists at Baylor University who identified it as belonging to a Columbian mammoth. Scientists returned to the site and began digging, and eventually uncovered the herd that we see here today. How these mammoths died is actually unknown. There's no evidence that humans had anything to do with their death, and the most likely reason is that the herd may have been trapped in a flash flood and drowned, and later floods buried them until they were discovered in 1978. From the Waco Mammoth National Monument, it was just a short drive into Waco and to the campus of Baylor University, where I made a quick stop at Baylor Stadium. The stadium is located right on the banks of the Brazos River and is one of the few stadiums where fans can arrive and tailgate by boat, making it one of the prettiest settings in football. The stadium was built at a total cost of $266 million and opened in 2014, making it one of the newest college football stadiums in the country. It has a seating capacity of just over 45,000 people and features 39 suites, 74 boxes, and 1,200 club seats. Standing just outside the entrance to McLean Stadium is a statue of Robert Griffin III, or RG3 as he was known, when he played quarterback for the Bears from 2008 through 2011. During his college career, he won a number of awards, including the 2011 Heisman Trophy. Following his graduation, he was drafted in the first round by the Washington Redskins. After finishing my visit to McLean Stadium, I crossed to Brazos and arrived at the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame and Museum. This is an outstanding museum dedicated to one of the oldest and finest law enforcement organizations in the country. The Rangers were formed in 1823 while Texas was still a part of Mexico by Stephen F. Austin to combat Indian raids. The two initial companies were paid $15 a month and were called Rangers. As the saying goes, before there was Texas, there were the Rangers. Throughout their history, a number of Rangers has obtained individual fame, including Major George Erath, who is regarded as the father of Waco. Jack Hayes, who is often described by marauding Indians and bandits as being brave too much. And of course, Frank Hamer, who is best known for his involvement in tracking down and killing gangsters Bonnie and Clyde. The Ranger Museum features a large number of firearms, including this display, which shows some of the weapons used by law enforcement when they ambushed Bonnie and Clyde on May 23, 1934 in Gippsland, Louisiana. It also shows a number of weapons that were taken from Bonnie and Clyde and their car at the time of their death. One of my favorite shows growing up was The Lone Ranger, starring Clayton Moore as the Ranger and Jay Silverheels as his faithful companion Tonto. The museum has a number of artifacts from the show, including the Ranger's white hat, black mask, and a famed silver bullet. I finished my visit to the Texas Ranger Museum with a stop at the First Street Cemetery, which is located adjacent to the museum. This is the oldest cemetery in Waco, and many of the town's early citizens are resting here. After visiting the cemetery, I made my way to downtown Waco and found the Dr. Pepper Museum. Dr. Pepper is the oldest major soft drink that is made from concentrate and syrups in the United States. It was created and first sold here in Waco in 1885. I arrived too late in the day to tour the museum, but did manage to stop on the street and take a few photos of the building. Before leaving the Waco area, I decided to make my way about 10 miles northeast of the city to Double E Ranch Road and the entrance to Mount Carmel, which was the site of the Branch Davidian compound. On February 28, 1993, 4 federal agents were shot and killed while attempting to serve a search warrant and arrest Davidian leader David Koresh. As a result, law enforcement descended on the compound, and for the next 51 days, they attempted to negotiate an end to the siege. When it appeared that negotiations were at an impasse, federal officials decided to breach the compound with tear gas. On April 19, 1993, armored vehicles approached and breached the walls of the main compound. An unexpected fire erupted and completely destroyed the compound. David Koresh and 75 of his followers died in the fire. Today, very little is left of the 1993 compound, and only a few Davidians still live on the property. Sometimes the caretaker will be available to answer questions, but during my visit, I was left alone to explore the monuments and memorials that dot the property. No trespassing signs prevent visitors from going beyond the small prayer chapel to where the original compound once stood. From all indications, there's very little to see back there anyway, and I respected the signs and completed my short visit to Mount Carmel. This concludes my visit to Waco, Texas. It's a wonderful city, filled with friendly people. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up below. And if you want to keep up with my travels, please subscribe. But for now, it's time for me to head on down the road and see what's around the bend.